Welcome to the Lean Blog Podcast. Visit our website at www.leanblog.org. Now, here's your host, Mark Graban.
Hi, this is Mark Graban. Welcome to the podcast, episode 131 for November 28th, 2011. My guest today is Paul Borawski. He is the CEO of ASQ, the American Society for Quality. We're going to be talking about ASQ, their recently completed National Quality Month, and we'll talk about a number of other topics, including the recent ending of federal funding for the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award. So we'll hear Paul's thoughts on that and a number of topics. Related to ASQ, I'm very happy that I'm going to be participating in, I'll be a speaker at the 2012 Lean and Six Sigma Conference, which is being held February 27th and 28th, 2012 in Phoenix. If you've never been to Phoenix in February, you are missing out. It is a great place to be, and I'm sure it's a great conference, even though we'll be inside and in conference rooms at the hotel. I hope you'll come, and I think it's going to be a great event. I'll be talking about my upcoming book, Healthcare Kaizen, in that session. So as always, thanks for listening to the podcast. For more episodes, you can go to leanpodcast.org and check in daily on the blog for more content at leanblog.org. Well, again, our guest is Paul Borawski from ASQ. Thanks for taking time to talk today, Paul.
Thanks, Mark. Glad to be with you.
So I was wondering if you could start off, introduce yourself for the listeners, talk a little bit about your professional background and how you got involved in quality.
Well, Mark, my whole professional background has been in what the world would call association management. So I've, for 33 years, worked for two large societies, ASQ for the last 25. So what I've learned about quality, I've learned by my immersion in the subject in the field through my work, and had the good fortune in the early years to have the opportunity to meet people like David Kearns and Bob Galvin and Roger Milliken and the host of CEOs at the time that were very visible and vocal on the importance of quality, and kind of got the bug.
Well, I'm sure that's the case to have been involved in ASQ for 25 years. Can you talk a little bit, I mean, since you have such a background with ASQ, talk a little bit about some of the background of the organization and how things have evolved over the years?
The big evolution, I would say, Mark. Quality has changed a lot in the 25 years that I've been here, and ASQ in response. We'd like to think that we help lead the response of evolution. And when I first got here 25 years ago, quality was dominantly the subject of manufacturing and dominantly limited to the subject of product. And I think over the years we've certainly seen quality lead the plant floor and come into the boardrooms, and certainly lead manufacturing for every sector of the economy. I'm really excited to see the impact quality is having in healthcare and government, and increasingly of global proportions. So ASQ has responded to that. Our members live in 140 countries, and ASQ today has offices in China and India, Mexico, and soon to be Brazil and the Middle East.
And with that evolution and spread of formal quality practices, one of ASQ's publications is a book I thought was quite good called Lean Doctors. So ASQ has a role as a publisher, as a professional organization, running conferences. Can you talk about some of the aspects of ASQ and what the organization does for individuals, professional development, or to try to help move the quality field forward in general?
Yeah, I think, Mark, you've got good grasp. You provided it. ASQ starts on a foundation that we're a membership organization. We exist for the benefit of organizations and individuals who come to us with the desire to learn about a topic or a subject, in many cases a profession, and rely on the society to be the source of objective information and the source of professional development, to participate in our conference and training, to be certified, and to network with other people exploring the same vocational interests that they have, so that they can share their concerns and get help, and share their successes and get support and recognition. And so, that's the foundation of professional associations, which is being shaped very dramatically by the presence of the internet in the last 15 years. And so societies are changing to take advantage of the internet as a source of information, value, community, and networking.
Yeah, and in fact, earlier today, in fact, I called and renewed my ASQ membership for another year. It's an organization that I've been involved in. And talk about use of the internet. One of the things we're here to talk about today was ASQ's participation in World Quality Month, which was actually in the month of November. If you can talk about World Quality Month, I know there were all sorts of really creative things going on, such as video contests of people submitting videos and taking advantage of the internet that way. But can you talk a little bit more broadly just about World Quality Month and what some of the key messages are?
Yeah, the purpose of World Quality Month is picking up something that ASQ had started in the 80s, and the world picked up, which was we used to have National Quality Month. October was National Quality Month, and the world picked up November as World Quality Day, a day, I think it was the second Tuesday or something like that in November. And so ASQ's chosen to join the world and moving towards November and to make it a month to recognize that organizations around the world have different observances of World Quality Month, and we felt we could play an instrumental role of kind of creating a fulcrum and a clearinghouse of all the world's quality organizations and their efforts to raise their voice in November. I think, one of the things quality still struggles with is getting the community, the world, executives, policymakers to understand what modern quality is. So World Quality Month just gives us the opportunity to wave the flag and bring attention and encourage people to raise their voice and tell their stories.
So with World Quality Month and the UQ video promotion, where people are submitting videos about quality, what can people do? Where can they go to view those videos?
Well, Mark, the contest just closed, and the videos are being made available to facebook.com.asq, and it's there that anybody can go take a look and cast their vote.
Okay, so facebook.com/ASQ would be a place to go for that. And so with World Quality Month ending, Paul, from your perspective, if you think of the state of quality today, more broadly, you've already talked about how quality methods have spread from manufacturing to other industries. Where do you think things stand today, and looking ahead, perhaps into the next couple of years?
Well, Mark, that's a fantastically interesting question because it can go in so many ways. For instance, I would want to think that American manufacturers are going to be rediscovering quality, but in a different way. I think the past years have been devoted to Six Sigma and Lean and the reduction of waste and the contribution of quality to the bottom line. And during that time, perhaps some organizations have lost sight of the customer. So there may be a reemergence of customer in the manufacturing sense. In healthcare, I think quality is just beginning to come into its own, and the healthcare industry understanding the contribution quality can make. The stories of the Baldrige recipients in healthcare are astoundingly exciting. And as we look around the world, we see lots of opportunity from some of the best organizations on par with any around the world, and in other places, huge opportunities where quality and the basic tools are still yet undiscovered. So I think Dr. Duran gave us a really valuable prophecy when he said the 21st century will be the century of quality. And I think those who are passionate and committed and dedicated to that have a lot of work to do to make that prophecy a reality. Certainly our society and the world and our planet are crying for the benefits that quality can deliver, and those who understand it deliver in their organizations. But how we get the world to really pay attention is the big challenge.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, you cite the great examples of some of the improvements that are taking place in quality. Some of the Baldrige Award winners from healthcare are doing great things. Organizations that are using Lean and Six Sigma and other combinations of those and different methodologies are doing great things. There's still a lot of room for improvement there in healthcare. I think of the century of quality. It's almost cliche to complain about bad service with airlines. I'm a frequent flyer, but I think of it seems my perception, and I don't know if this is too cynical. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. That a lot of organizations, regardless of quality tools, just so often seem to lose sight of customers. I think airlines, unfortunately, some of them tend to be the most egregious in that regard. Do you think, if you look at across different service industries, are organizations really embracing this idea of really maintaining customer focus and quality? Is it too hard to generalize? What are some of the trends that you see in that sense of industries or customers reinforcing the importance of quality or losing sight of it?
I think, Mark, I would say it's very hard to generalize. So I'd say in terms of picking up trends and the signal strength of those trends, really hard from the sensing capabilities that we have here. We are next year, or this year, planning to do a global state of quality research initiative to try and bring more qualitative and quantitative understanding of the sameness and differentness of quality around the world. That should be really interesting. But again, I'd say even in service companies, you find some organizations that really seem to understand it. Some are doing it instinctually. Some are doing it through the science of management. And other organizations, industries, as you say, that seem to have a deaf ear to the value of distinguishing yourself in the creation of an experience that's rewarding to the customer and the efficiency and benefit that comes from doing it that way. I'm still dumbfounded by the number of organizations that seem not to understand what the cost of poor quality and service is costing on the top line and the bottom line.
Now, one of you mentioned Baldrige, and Baldrige I think has been one of the key programs to help create awareness and help push quality forward in different industries, including healthcare and, of course, manufacturing and other settings. Now, as we record this today here on November 18th, there's, I guess, what's relatively breaking news today related to the Baldrige program, if you can tell the listeners about that, Paul.
Sure, Mark. We've been working for months now to try and stave a movement in Washington that seemed to identify the Baldrige program as an award program unsuitable for federal funding, and we've done a lot of work to try and inform Washington about the fact that it's not an award program. It's really a program that improves the competitiveness of our companies and our organizations, our schools, our hospitals, that creates jobs, that takes costs out of government. But the answer seems to be, well, we gave you a 23-year running head start and legacy. Let the private sector take it forward if it's important. So today the president signed into law a mini omnibus that serves to do a lot of things, including cease the funding of the Baldrige Award as of today, as of the stroke of his pen. So the good news is there's a Baldrige Foundation, there's a state alliance of programs, there's a continuing interest of the Baldrige office and ASQ meeting to talk about Baldrige in the period beyond federal funding. And I think there's some excitingly good ideas being pursued of ways to more effectively utilize the resources of the system. And the Baldrige Foundation has committed to seeing the fiscal year 11 and the calendar year 12 programs through to completion. So it's a time of transition, a time of change, innovation, and new opportunity. But a little disappointing for me that it suggests that our government doesn't quite yet understand the role quality can play in the vitality of our economy. And then contrast that, Mark. I was in Beijing, China 2 weeks ago, and they have a minister-level cabinet role for national policy on quality in China. So here's a country focused at the highest level of government on the importance and impact of quality. They're clearly humble in how much progress they need to make, and that they're still a developing country, but they're focused, they're planned, they're putting resource and time and attention, and the U.S. Congress seems to say if it's good, then the private sector should pay for it.
So to be clear, the end of the federal funding by no means means the end of the Baldrige Award and ongoing development of those criteria and all of that administration. Would that be housed and run primarily by the Baldrige Foundation instead of NIST and other entities in government?
Well, I don't think we have an answer for that yet. I don't believe the foundation is going to build managerial capacity. But there are 38 state programs, all of which have, capacity, administration, wherewithal. Of course, ASQ has been the administrator of the award for 23 years, so we have experience and capability. So I think what we're going to see is the confluence of all of the resources, rationalizing perhaps a new and innovative approach to the continuation of the work.
Well, so hopefully you're right that even though this may be a bit of a setback in terms of some of the exposure or visibility of the program, that like you said, hopefully this is a new era where different organizations will step up and help keep the program running, if not strengthen it, and help it grow over time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, Mark. I spend a lot of time traveling, and Baldrige and quality are synonymous in almost every place of the world. The U.S. is well regarded because of its Baldrige program, and so I'm certain that will go forward. It's just discouraging that the government seems not to think it a priority.
Now, one other thing, Paul, I was hoping we could chat about here. I've been reading your blog, and I'll link to your blog on the ASQ website, on my blog, on the post for this episode. One post that really caught my eye, and I was wondering if you could talk about and summarize for the listeners. You had a post recently remembering two very well-known leaders from the high-tech industry and the manufacturing world who've passed away recently, Bob Galvin and Steve Jobs. If you can share some of your reflections on, clearly two very different men, if you can talk about their contributions to quality and what some of your recollections are.
Well, it was fascinating to me that both men died in the same week. Bob Galvin was a person that I'd had the opportunity to spend some time with. I wouldn't say we're friends, but I think he would recognize me if we passed in the hall. I'd certainly say I had 10 or 12 hours in his presence, and I always thought of him as the dean of American business. Certainly, running one of the best that Motorola ushered in the age of cellular phone technology, and there was a lot of wisdom in Mr. Galvin's understanding of business and quality and the importance of quality, and it was always top and front and center on his leadership agenda. Steve, I think it's interesting we call them both Bob and Steve as though they're friends. But Steve brought a very different contribution to our understanding of enterprise, and very unconventional in terms of his leadership style, but certainly remarkable in the impact his vision on technology and the gift of beautifully designed product in our lives.
Well, I think it kind of speaks to the idea of different definitions of quality. I mean, looking at what might be more of a kind of extension of the Six Sigma approach that came out of Motorola, thinking of quality in terms of being defect-free products, but also thinking of quality maybe more along the lines of what Steve Jobs pictured it as, meeting the customer's needs, or even kind of exceeding and anticipating needs that customers didn't think they had. And it's interesting to see. I don't believe that Apple has really been a quote-unquote Six Sigma company. Maybe some of their manufacturing partners at this point in China and other companies use Lean and Six Sigma to try to develop and deliver on the defect-free aspect of quality. Curious to hear some of your thoughts to see what, from Bob Galvin and Steve Jobs. Are these different or complementary views, or can you think of circumstances where people are maybe combining both views of quality?
Yeah. Again, I mean, Motorola's has a long company story, longer than Apple's. But I think in the Bob Galvin leadership era, there was what emerged from that is the notion of a culture of quality, right? And an American pursuit of perfection and outcome. And I think Motorola, well known as an innovator. Apple, I think you'd say likewise. I mean, astounding results in terms of shooting in front of the duck and delivering to the customer products they didn't even know they wanted, right? But also, I think, aesthetic quality. I think one of the things, that I always wonder about is how come other companies don't decode how successful Apple's been in providing us products that are lovely to touch and hold and look at. And I know that they have aesthetic standards that are as rigorous as any of their production standards. And so it's been fascinating to me to watch that kind of industrial design innovation activity that Apple has brought to our lives.
Yeah, and it'll certainly be interesting to see how those two companies move forward on their path. Bob Galvin, I mean, he had been formally retired from Motorola for quite some time.
Yep.
Steve Jobs clearly involved with Apple in different ways up until the very end, but two very different, interesting companies to follow, and glad that you're blogging about that and other topics. So again, for those of you listening, you can go to asq.org/blog and read posts from Paul and others. So again, our guest has been Paul Borawski, the CEO of ASQ, the American Society for Quality. Paul, appreciate you taking time. If you have any final thoughts you'd want to share with our listeners.
No, Mark, I've enjoyed the time. I think you prepared well and took us on a journey of a collection of interesting questions. I would just say that if listeners hear this during the month of November, to do something to raise their voice, to tell the rest of the world how important quality is and the difference it could make in our lives and in our world. I think we're just scraping the surface of the impact quality can have, and the quality community needs to be a little bolder in the expression of what it knows to be true.
Okay, well, Paul, thanks again. Thanks for your leadership with ASQ, and it's good to talk to you today.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Lean Blog Podcast. For Lean news and commentary updated daily, visit www.leanblog.org. If you have any questions or comments about this podcast, email Mark at leanpodcast@gmail.com.